Okay, let's start with the number one question that is probably on your minds right now. I'm guessing. What exactly is or are the paths to becoming a visual effects supervisor? Well, personally, I've supervised a few small indie shorts and features, but I'd rather let the experts tell you themselves. Let's hear what our pros have to say.
I did a lot of movies as a computer graphics supervisor, as a lighting supervisor, compositing supervisor, supervising animation, digital effects supervisor. I mean, all kinds of things before I ever did an on-set supervision. That's sort of how it went. So by the time I got to being an on-set supervisor, first of all, people had been asking me for years, like, why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? You know, you should be doing that. And I was like, I'll get there. I didn't really become a visual effects supervisor until late in my career. And so being in charge as a visual effects supervisor in charge of post-production, my first time was probably 2008, somewhere around there, on the movie Priest.
I freelance as a effect artist with a Encore VFX Deluxe Entertainment for TV series on the CW channel. After 2 years in the production, and they brought me on board as a supervisor in charge of the effect department.
I started to do graphic design and animations and stuff for local companies. And I realized I could actually make a living doing logos, graphic design. So I started to look at art schools in the area, and also in the same time, I saw Jurassic Park and Toy Story. While I was at art school, I went to Minneapolis College of Art and Design. I came out my senior year to Los Angeles and was interviewing at a bunch of studios, and met some other mentors and stuff, and they introduced me to a school in Los Angeles, and I inquired about the school and spent my senior year of art school at Noman, perfecting my skill, and then graduated from Minneapolis, moved out to Los Angeles, and then continued my education at Noman until I landed my first job.
So I was a painting major, art major back at the University of Kentucky about 1 million years ago. Got interested in making what we call experimental films at that point, built my own little optical printer from spare parts. So the path, my own personal path, I mean, look, I started out as an optical printer when there were only 100 optical printer operators in the world. Made it a lot easier, was good at that, worked my way up. I became the optical supervisor on a number of his shows. Then I left to ILM to become an optical supervisor, and the optical supervisor's job at ILM was essentially to figure out how to get the things put together optically, to check the color, and like that, again, it was purely a technical operation. Just get boring, and then did that for a long time until about 2004, either as part of a company, working directly for a production, or as part of another company. So like most people in the business for a while, I've had a bounce back and forth kind of career.
As you can see, there are various ways to becoming a visual effects supervisor. Personally, from my own experiences as an independent visual effects supervisor, it is all about taking initiative and showing that you have the extra chops to handle and step up to the task. My path was easy. I was able to communicate my knowledge and expertise, and at the same time, show that I understood and was willing to get involved in the production process. So, in summary, always be open to many possibilities, be intentional in your communication of your actions and intentions, and of course, be fun to work with and don't be an ass. And of course, express your interest in the role before even setting off to create the visual effects in indie productions. Now, if you'd like to hear more stories or learn more about what it takes to become a supervisor, feel free to check out the resources in this lesson, including a few recommended resources that most aspiring visual effects supervisors would and should look into. So, let's draw the mic back to you guys. Q&A time. Do you want to be a visual effects supervisor one day? If yes or no, why? Go ahead, post your thoughts, comments, and responses on the Q&A board. Once you're done with that, let's proceed to the next important visual effects production basic that anyone in the visual effects supervising crew needs to know. The visual effects bidding process.